Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to M1 Racing and our live coverage of the G-Force Racing League. My name is Mark, and I'll be your host for the next 90 minutes or so today. Let us get some audio on the screen. Bear with us a moment, folks. We had a few technical issues today with various different streaming platforms after all of our testing over the last few days, and yet when we come to actually use it for a live stream, it's all failing on us. So we're going to try and sort. At the moment, we've got no audio, it would seem, for the cars running around the track, but we're going to try and sort that out for ourselves in a moment. If you're hearing it, if you are hearing the cars going around the track on the stream, if you would let me know, that would be really helpful. But unfortunately, I've got no feedback in my headphones today. But we'll get around those technical issues today. We're definitely going to have a good 90 minutes or so of racing coming up for you. And this week, we do have the whole commentary team with us. My co-pilot Pete is back to monitor the chat for us and keep an eye on the racing we're not able to cover on the stream. And I'm sure Pete will say hi in the chat here very shortly. And I'm delighted to say that Baggysaurus, otherwise known as Rio, is back with us as well after their first outing with us last week at Silverstone. And they're back with us in the commentary box here for this round 7 of the G-Force Racing League. Hi Rio, welcome back. Excited for today's race?
Hello, yes, I am quite excited for this one because it's the Circuit of the Americas. It's a very, very exciting track, and it's got a lot of tough corners and easy to spin out, so we might see some cool carnage and stuff.
Yeah, there's every chance of that today. So if you're joining us for the first time on M1 Racing, you are very welcome. It's great to have you here with us. And if you're rejoining us from races before, welcome back. And we are halfway through the season. 6 races done, 6 more to go. And we've got a double dose of action here today. The G-Force Racing League with both a sprint and a feature race. So we'll be getting underway. We are underway already with qualifying cars out on their first out laps and hot laps, which we'll take a look at in the moment. And then the qualifying will set the grid for the sprint race, and then the result of the sprint race is going to set the grid for the feature race. So we'll settle in with this at the moment. So if anyone is watching the stream and can hear the cars going around the track, I am seeing the audio come up on my screen, but I have absolutely no sense if it's actually going out to you folks out there. So if it is, do let me know. That would be really helpful. Or if you're not hearing anything at all with regards to the cars on the track, that would be good to know as well. So last week we were at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix with MVR taking the victory. SHS came in second and Hypno in third. So we've got a very full grid out here today. 18 cars, not quite 20, but ever so close to that magic number. And we've got Obo setting the early time here. Fastest lap so far, 1:33.801, but they are the first to set a lap, so good for them. And now we see the other cars coming through. SS7 with a 1:32.909, and DiBiaggi, a new driver for us, regular follower of the G-Force Racing League, but it's great that they're out with us. They're setting an early time as well. Let us bring up some information so we can see on screen for all their cars. We'll have a look at tyres. Everyone out on soft tyres early on, and if we bring up sector times as well, and we've got a number of returning drivers with us today, and a new driver. Pete was just calling them out to me. Joe Bean has set the fastest lap so far for Mercedes. SS7 finding themselves perhaps a very strong teammate to join them in Mercedes. They've been pretty much driving Mercedes forward, but they've done well to find themselves a very strong teammate. So Rio, to come to you, I mean, have you had a chance to drive around this track in the game so far?
I have not, unfortunately, because of focusing on Jeddah, but Circuit of the Americas is definitely one for me to race on.
Yeah, it's one that I know our drivers were very keen to race on when it was announced last week that Texas was next. We shouldn't be following DBHD; they're just following us around. We have seen MVR set a fastest lap so far. We're going to go down to Emeleki, who is also out on a hot lap here, just coming over the finish line. They go in just behind MVR. So MVR first at the moment with 131.754. But we're setting a very strong pace already, Rio. MVR 1 second clear of Emeleki. MVR looks like the driver to beat once again already.
Yeah, J-Repo or NVR, he being that, higher up on Emeleki and SS7 Jobin just shows you how well of a driver he is, and knows that he can be in the title fight. And I already have a feeling that there's going to be a big title fight between NVR, SS7, SHS, and possibly Jobin.
Yeah, most definitely. Now I'm just trying to do a little test myself. Yep. Well, the good news is, from my version of the stream, it does look as though we are getting the car audio coming out over the main stream. So that is good to hear. Right, in the commentary box, it's ever so quiet. We don't get the lovely sound, the backdrop of the cars, but I'm going to see if I can sort that out. Perhaps when we take a break between the sprint and the feature race, perhaps we'll take a look there. Emeleki returning back to the pits, so we'll take a look for another driver out there. So Spicy Nuts also just come back. We've got Mr. Hannes right at the bottom here, only driver yet to set a lap, and so they are coming round now. We'll drive on board with one of these drivers when they go on one of their proper full laps in just a moment. And I can already see the J-Repo MVR being congratulated in the drivers' chat already on that opening lap. That's going to take some beating. Mr. Hannes giving it a go here. No, they must have gone beyond track limit, so no time currently set. Oh no, my apologies. 134.427 for Mr. Hannes. That just had registered on my screen. So they move into 14th position currently. So after these early laps, MVR way out in front, 131.754. Emeleki, best part of over a second back in second, 132.817. Our new driver for Mercedes, Jobin, in third with a 132.902. And SS7 in fourth, also for Mercedes, 132.909. We see MACT is doing quite a few laps on those soft tyres, so perhaps they're looking to get used to the track one more time before they go out on another proper flying lap. And also Hypno doing a similar kind of thing, 133.983 their fastest so far. We do have a few drivers on their out laps here, so I think we'll go to Jobin. Looks as though they could be a useful addition to the Mercedes team. They're obviously just setting up here on their out lap, so we'll follow them around. They're currently following behind the Aston Martin in front. They're coming right at the moment as they set up here. They're coming down this really long back straight. Cars, all of these cars on these big straights will get well over 200 miles an hour, and this is where we'll see a lot of the overtaking into this corner here, and then it starts to tighten up the track in this last sort of section where corners come at you thick and fast, as we see Jobin either trying to get hold of the car or warming up those tyres a little bit. So we're coming around the last few corners, and Rio, do you fancy taking us round with Jobin's next flying lap here?
Yeah, sure, I've got no problem with that.
So we're just setting up for the very last corner, and over to you, sir.
Alrighty, so Circuit of the Americas down the straight, the not very long straight. It's not really called a straight for me, but down up to the ascent and into turn one, the exit for turn one. You don't want to put too much power, otherwise you will spin the car, and then down to one of my favorite parts of the track, which is the S's. You can go full throttle into it if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it because you might spin. And then going into one of the more harder parts of the track, you go up, around, and then back onto the entry to the back straight. And then the back straight, one of the more longer straights in the F1 23 game and also IRL. It's you get up to around 190 miles per hour down these type of straights. Heavy braking, and then we go into here, easy corner. Once again, you don't want to put a lot of throttle on it, otherwise you'll spin the tires. Going through turns 14 and 15. Down this bit, and that corner for me is the hardest because you spin there a lot, and then into one of my other favorite parts of the track, and then back down into the last couple of corners. And you got a bit squirrely out there, and then into the final corner to finish off that lap.
And Joe Bean sets a time of 1:32.436, improves by 0.4 of a second. So nicely done, Joe Bean. Looking good for Mercedes here. SHS has just finishing their lap there with a 1:32.754. So SHS, one of our strong contenders for the Drivers' Championship, and also leading the way for Aston Martin. So we've got a few others out already. Alex 1, it's good to have them back with us last week. Unfortunately, qualified reasonably well for the last race in Silverstone, but was unable to start the race, sadly. So they are back with us this week, and we'll be looking to make amends, but not putting a full lap on those new soft tyres. So they're coming back in right now. David T is out, currently up in Sector 2 by just 0.06 of a second, looking to come round and finish their lap. David T currently in 12th place, with the 1:33.613. We've got 5 minutes left of qualifying here, so this will be last 1 laps for most of our drivers, but they'll be looking to get out one more time. David T might have to be a bit sharpish in order to be able to get that in as we come around turn 12 there, and then 13. And say this is when the track really tightens up. Very reminiscent of the stadium section in Hockenheim, where these corners come at you thick and fast. Much more technical round here compared to the other aspects of the circuit. So David T going through Sector 3, as the car will want to kind of step out through those corners, line it up through turn 19, and David T pulling out of that one, so not improving well enough. They'll save those tyres. You never know in a sprint weekend, or sprint day I should say. The allocation of tyres is not really too dissimilar from a normal race day, but they've now got to last their entire allocation out over sprint qualifying and the feature race. So we see DB actually 2 laps in, so they won't be improving on that time. We do see SS7 out on a new set of soft tyres, so let's follow them around as we're underway here on their next qualifying lap into turn 1. Really tricky, that elevation change from the main straight up the hill into the hairpin, blind apex, now through this sequence of corners very reminiscent of Maggots and Beckett's from last week in Silverstone. I can see why Rio likes this section. Then trying to set up again another blind apex over the top of this ridge here, back on the power as the car gets out over the curbs, down the hill again, down to the hairpin at turn 11. And we want to set up really well here. We're going to get the DRS open, want to get on the power as quickly as we can to carry as much speed as possible down this back straight. So SS7 into Sector 2, down the main straight, DRS wide open, that car on the left keeping wood out of the way for us. We dive down into turn 12, it gets much tighter here. Not looking to run out too wide because we want to set up for 13 as quickly as we can. Now hold the car in tight but get back on the power as we head towards 17, 18 and 19. And then we're going to try, and once we come out of 19, we're going to try and pick our turning point for for the last corner, turn 20, to get back onto the main straight. SSS loses it coming through, but gets a bit too much curb on the edge of 19. That might help them get into the pits before and perhaps get out one more time for one more go, but that's bad luck for SS7, so they head back into the pits.
SS7, I realise he just got a bit. He might have got a bit greedy on the throttle coming out of that second last corner there. I noticed he did start to spin just at the mid corner.
Yeah, those curbs here are quite high. You got quite a lot of the underbody of the car on there, and as you rightly say, Rio, that just lost all grip, and around he went. So that's SS7 back into the pits. I think they will struggle to get in and out in time to do a lap. We've got just under 2 minutes left. Spicy Nuts cruising around here, looking to set up for their lap. Spicy Nuts, a very good driver, very consistent. Will be looking to pick up some points for Alpine here today. I'm going to come down to M1A. They were going very well in Silverstone for a while, but sadly had a coming together with, I think, Mr. Hannes. That's been sorted out post-race, but they were very strong here and also in one of the earlier races for the G-Force Racing League. So I think they could be one to watch. Let's ride on board with N1A. I'm going to keep an eye on the timer so we get up with our front runners before the end of qualifying. As we see, Aston Martin disappearing out. I think they're just keeping out of the way. That's very nicely done. As we see the Alfa Romeo come round. And you can see a lot of traffic in front for N1A. So that's really probably not going to help them on this last qualifying lap for them. It gets incredibly busy around here. Rio, just trying to time when you're coming out of the pits so you've got a clear run with no cars in front of you.
Yeah. I've just noticed Joe Bean has just got a penalty for illegal blocking, a 5-place grid penalty.
Ouch!
Never knew you could get that in the game, but that will affect him depending on what finishing position he gets. It might be second, so it might jump down to 7th or 6th. But yeah, definitely a rare occurrence.
That's a good spot. I think that. We've seen that once before, I think, in one of the early races. There was a coming together, and that caused some real problems. I do see SS7 out on another lap. They look to be up in sectors 1 and 2, so maybe SS7 may well be improving. Oh no, sorry, SS7 is out, so my timing screen is slightly out. That was their earlier lap. So Malecki going here for McLaren, looking to improve as the car gets unsettled, as Rio was describing earlier. If you take too much curb, that's really going to disadvantage the drivers. Now Emalecki really struggling to get hold of the car, and D goes wide there. I suspect that's beyond track limits for Emalecki, so I don't see them improving from here. We'll stay with them to the bitter end. Spicy Nuts has moved right up into second place, so great result for Spicy Nuts so far, unless we see any other drivers. Now Emalecki going in. We'll go up to SHS coming through in sector 3. We know SHS is a good driver. 132.754 their previous qualifying lap, looking to move further up as they come through the final corners. Mercedes getting out of the way there, Joe Bean, as we come around the final corners here. Pete's telling me Spicy Nuts gained 0.8 of a second on their last lap, so that's quite some gain, as SHS doesn't improve. So 132.513 so is their time. That's what they'll be taking through to the race. So that is qualifying completed. Any surprises for you, Rio, there out of qualifying?
Definitely Spicy Nuts, because he was going very good in Silverstone and of course Belgium, but yeah, no, definitely a massive surprise for him. And 0.8 of a second in his last lap could see him battling in VR for the win, and maybe even for a championship spot if he does keep this pace up.
Yeah, that you're absolutely right. I think there's a real challenger there potentially to MVR. It's great to see Spicy Nuts up there. Joe Bean in third on the timing screen, but that 5 position penalty will put them back down probably behind their teammate SS7. So it will be SHS promoted to third spot on the grid, second row, Imaleki alongside them for McLaren. DiBiaggi, welcome to the league, DiBiaggi. It's great to see you out for AlphaTauri. They're next. Then SS7 and Joe Bean. Then Hypno, who scored very well, finishing second last week in 8th, MacT in 9th, N1A in 10th. So that's our top 10 out of qualifying, as we will now go into the sprint race. Won't be much break for our drivers today, so they're going to go straight into the sprint race here. Not entirely sure how many laps we are going to get. The timing screens are telling us that the forecast looks to be dry, so not expecting any rain today. We do get rain in Texas from time to time, and when it comes down heavily, but it looks nice and dry for us here. So sprint race, shortened version of the feature race. So what will be key for our drivers to remember is where they finish here in the sprint will determine where they start for the feature race. So will drivers be conservative and just hold their position, or will they look to make moves forward to give them a better starting point? All right, we're lined up on the grid. 3 lights on, 4 lights on, 5 lights on. All right, folks, let's go racing. Spicy Nuts looks to have a good start at MVR as we come away on lap 1 of the sprint race. And we've got Spicy Nuts right on the inside there of MVR, trying to take an early lead as we head down the hill towards turn 2. MVR holding on to that lead right now, but we've also got Joe Bean, who didn't seem to lose any places or made them up immediately on the start, is in third place. SHS dropping back into fourth from there, and MVR looking to get away from Spicy Nuts. We thought for a moment there Spicy Nuts had a run on MVR Rio, but they couldn't make it stick round turn 1.
Yeah, Spicy Nuts had a very good start there. He was on track to actually pass him by the S's, but I think he must have let off the gas just before he got to the S's, because just in case he might have tagged him if he did commit to it.
Pete's telling us there was a big crash at the back, so we do see Domo Pierce in 16th back there, and Ace Pilot. I don't know if they were just switching positions. Apparently Obo has spun, so yeah, that's dropped Obo right into last place. So that has unfortunately disadvantaged them. Spicy Nuts coming under pressure from Joe Bean and SHS and DiBiaggi all the way down pretty much to MacT. SS7 has dropped down to 9th, Hypno having got past them. But that looks like quite a close battle as we come to start lap 2. MVR leading the way from Spicy Nuts for Alpine, Joe Bean for Mercedes, and SHS right there for Aston Martin. But Spicy Nuts will be looking to get up behind MVR, get back within that 1 second DRS range, so they can take advantage of these huge DRS zones here at the Circuit of the Americas. A 3-second penalty for Spicy Nuts. That will be for track limits, and that's going to hurt them, particularly in this sprint race. Only 10 laps in the sprint race. We're going to get twice as many of those when we come into the feature race. As Joe Bean right up behind Spicy Nuts, looking to make a move down into turn 12. Not able to make that stick. Down to turn 11. Now we're onto that big main straight. DRS not yet enabled. We'll have to have at least 2 laps, but I reckon Joe Bean on the ERS, the extra battery boost, hopefully get them past Spicy Nuts. Indeed they do, into turn 12. Well done to Joe Bean, moving up into second. Let's see if Joe Bean can close that gap down to MVR. SHS has also come through on Spicy Nuts, so Spicy Nuts losing 2 spaces in about as many corners there, so not a great sector on the track there for Spicy Nuts. I'm not sure if they picked up perhaps some damage, or confidence knocked by picking up that 3-second penalty. But that's unfortunate for Spicy Nuts. But the gains for Joe Bean, SHS, and we'll keep an eye on that gap between Joe Bean and MVR, see if that will come down. But this group of cars, as we're going to drop down a little bit further, we see SS7 right behind Hypno. And, well, as we say, I think it was one of the Alpines going very wild at that last corner onto the main straight. So who do you see as the winners and losers, Rio, so far?
Definitely Envia and Joe Bean, or SHS if he does battle them out. But most likely going to be Envia because he's already pulled 4 seconds on Joe Bean, which is very, very good. And
yeah,
I definitely think he could be a contender.
Yeah, so Joe Bean, well, I should say MVR, as you like to say, sort of pulling away from this following pack behind them, but that pack is very closely bunched. Just dropping down to SS7. Now with DRS, we'll be looking to get down this main straight into turn 12 using that DRS and probably a bit of ERS. We've got a big lock up from a couple of cars in front, but SS7 moving back up into 8th place, getting past Hypno. We saw how good Hypno was last week. Very consistent driver, was Rio's driver of the day in Silverstone. So they're a force to be reckoned with for Red Bull. So but SS7 getting past, and we'll look to close up on MAC-T. SS7 and MAC-T had a great battle at the end of Silverstone, but we weren't able to follow all of it because we had to go eventually to MVR to celebrate their victory with them. But that went literally to the last corner of the last lap. So wonder whether or not that battle will reconvene. I'll ask Pete to keep an eye on that gap to SS7 and MAC-T, although it looks to be coming down very rapidly already. Going back up to DiBiagi's getting down the inside, or trying to. It looks like a bit of contact on the rear of Spicy Nuts between the two cars there, the Alpha and the Alpine. But DiBiagi not able to make that stick, but it's good to see an AlphaTauri up towards the front end of this particular grid. If only I could hear the cars, because I do love the sound of those AlphaTauris. Bit further down the grid, we've got at the bottom Ace Pilot in 18th at the moment, but circulating for Williams. Got both Williams out today with their Alex 1, both back. 3 second time penalty for Obo. Obo down there in 17th has not had the best race so far. They'll be probably thinking ahead now to the feature race. And Rio, what would you be as a driver? What would you be thinking now? Do you make the moves and get up there, or do you just think if I'm 7th, 8th position and see how I get on in the feature race, or do you want to make up those places?
I would, completely honest with you, I would make up those places, because you do want to start quite high for the feature race, and not make any mistakes. Yeah,
sorry to cut across you there, Rio, but we saw DiBiagi being spun out there. It looked like an ambitious move by one of the other drivers, but DiBiagi losing out there. We'd have to go back to a replay. We'll see if that gets reported later on, but that's unfortunate for DiBiagi, who was running so well. I think I sometimes hesitate as a commentator to praise drivers when they're doing well, because inevitably something happens, as we see the Mercedes of SS7 going down the inside of MAC-T. So SS7 making up places very rapidly. They've settled back into this race, perhaps after a poor qualifying, but now moving up and putting Emeleki under some pressure. This group of drivers here, I think, very evenly balanced. We've seen some great battles between Emeleki and SS7 in the earlier races as well. So, but we see that SS7 is starting to feel a bit more confident on this track and starting to move up the order here. No change at the front. MVR nearly upwards of 4.5 seconds now ahead of SHS, who's moved into second. Joe Bean now having dropped back into third, but following SHS, as we see. Now it looks as though there's change of positions here, as Joe Bean going down the inside of SHS. So Joe Bean giving that up. That's the power of DRS. But SHS hanging it into the inside. There's a great battle going here for second place in this really twisty, turny part of the track. And we see Spicy Nuts looking to get in on the action. So Joe Bean holding them off, SHS right behind them, but nothing to choose between them as they're going wheel to wheel through these corners. Very brave driving, but very clean by the looks of things from these three drivers. It will now be Joe Bean, I think, who will get the DRS, as will Spicy Nuts. So will Joe Bean make a try down the inside into turn one? They look towards there, but don't make. But Spicy Nuts seems to make look for an opportunity there. may not be able to make that stick as Joe Bean is able to get back on the power, but great battle between these three, Rio.
Yeah, Spicy Nuts is looking, from his point of view, he's looking to get a podium position. I've noticed he's been very aggressive on the attack of Joe Bean. So he's definitely going to be. He might drop back, not in positions, but like in seconds, because he might be destroying his tires in the process of doing that. But don't worry about it. It's only a sprint race, but definitely could see him in the positions podium.
But these three, I should say, not giving this up. I have seen SS7 drop back from Hypno now. They sort of seem to have MACT are moving up into fifth, so Plates is changing all the time. SS7 also picking up a 3-second penalty. So again, I should stop praising these drivers, Rio. Every time I do that, they'll be asking me not to follow them very shortly at this rate, I think. So we've got a yellow flag in Sector 3, that's a Williams who has come to grief in the complex, but they're back up under running again. So a number of battles here between these drivers. Great battle between SHS Joe Bean and Spicy Nuts. Let's drop down to this other one. We see this train of 4 cars here. MACT trying to get onto the back. Now this will get interesting with perhaps 4 laps left of this 10-lap race. If MACT can get on the back and drag these other 3 cars with them onto the back of Spicy Nuts, it could be all guns blazing for these drivers in this sprint race. What a great sprint race we've had so far. It was pretty good in our first one in Spa in Belgium, but it's all action here from the Circuit of Americas in Texas as MVR leads the way from SHS, Joe Bean in third. Another yellow flag now in Sector 3. We have a Williams there back underway again, though. That's good. So no safety car as we follow Emeleki being followed by Hypno, and then SS7 with their 3-second penalty behind. I think SS7 will probably not get involved now with that 3 seconds. But MACT, and we see coming up onto the back of Spicy Nuts. So it is going to be a potential, what's that going to be? Best part of 6-way battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, with SH7 probably just watching everything unfold in front of them. So MACT has done really well to make up some lost places early on and move right onto the back of Spicy Nuts. Do you think, Ria, these soft tyres are going to hold on right to the end, or are we going to see drivers starting to lose an awful lot of grip very soon?
I think we definitely might start to see an awful lot of drivers start to lose a fair bit of grip, because obviously they're going to be very aggressive and trying to get as much out as possible on their tyres for the sprint race, so they can start higher up in the feature race. But yeah, I reckon to the sort of mid lap 10 or towards the last stages of lap 9, we could definitely see some grip loss.
Yeah, and we've got we're on lap 8 here of 10, so 3 laps left to go. With this one plus 2 more before we end this sprint race. I think NVR has got this sewn up, barring some kind of disaster. David T picking up a 3-second time penalty for track limits, but this battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th is certainly hotting up once more. MACT not quite able to put Spicy Nuts under pressure, but Spicy Nuts is definitely putting Joe Bean under pressure. Joe Bean goes wide into turn 12, and Spicy Nuts is ready to take advantage of that as they now look to hang on to the coattails of SHS. So very unfortunate for Joe Bean. They are still there, but that's brought MACT right onto the back of the Mercedes. And Hypno moving up into 6th place as well. So Hypno proving their performance for last week. It was no flash in the pan, so they're moving up places, and this is going to help them out for the feature race. We're going to go back to the front here because this is going to get interesting. I guess Joe Bean doesn't really need to fight Spicy Nuts because Spicy has that 3-second penalty, but they will have MACT right behind them. apologies, Jobin and MACT right behind them. So they'll need, they might be thinking to protect themselves from MACT to get past Spicy Nuts. So we're on lap 9 here. The next main straight as they come through the S-curves as we go round to set up for our next DRS zone. Really close driving by all of these drivers. MACT dropping back a little bit, unable to keep with the pace of Jobin. As Jobin will now look to get down the inside of Spicy Nuts for the hairpin in 11. Slight bang of front and rear wheels of the two cars for both of them through as Jobin will probably have the advantage of DRS. Indeed they do, and will bring them right back onto the back of SHS. So this race not yet done for second and third on the podium of the sprint race. What's your prediction here, Rio? Who's going to take second and third?
To be completely honest with you, might just be SHS. He looks like he's going to hold on to that position, and Jobin looks like he's not really going as aggressive as before. But we could definitely see some heavy battling. But I reckon it's going to be SHS.
Well, we're on the last lap here. MVR has just started that. The remainder of the cars coming around now. MACT, Hypno, Emeleki are all going to benefit from that 3-second penalty for Spicy Nuts. So Spicy Nuts is unfortunately at this point going to drop right down to 7th place. So they're trying to make the most of that by trying to get up to the inside of Jobin. And that's causing Jobin to drop back from SHS. So SHS is probably pretty much clear in front now. But Jobin coming under pressure from Spicy Nuts. They could probably let Spicy Nuts pass with that 3-second penalty. Alex 1 picking up 3 seconds now as we come to the closing stages of the sprint race for the G-Force Racing League, round 9 here in Texas. The finishing positions are also important for the start of the feature race coming straight after this. As we come down, and Spicy Nuts looking on the inside of Jobin. Jobin not really fighting. Oh, there they are. As I say that, pushes them quite wide, but they stay on the inside, and there's contact between Spicy and the Mercedes, and that allows MACT through. So MACT moving up into 4th. That'll actually put MACT onto the podium. I don't think any of us saw that one coming. So MACT, if they can hold on to that, is going to really benefit from that coming together between Spicy and Joe. So SHS, I see MVR winning the sprint race here from Texas. SHS going to come over the line to finish in 2nd. Spicy Nuts will finish 3rd on the track, but will lose that place to MACT. And to Hypno comes home in 4th. Then we've got Jobin. So Spicy Nuts finishing in 5th. Jobin in 6th, Emeleki in 7th, SS7 in 8th, the Biaggi recovering from their spin earlier up to 9th, Wands in for Aston Martin moving up to 10th, David T in 11th for Haas, N1A in 12th, Alex 1 in 13th, Andre Lunde in 14th, also for Red Bull, Obo in 15th, Mr. Hannes down there in 16th, just about to come over to finish their race. Domo Pierce for McLaren back in 17th, and Ace Pilot in 18th is the last car we will be waiting for to come over the line. Well, Ria, there was so much that went on in that sprint race. It was pretty tough to know where to look, but MVR, SHS and ultimately MACT finishing up on the podium for the sprint. I don't think we saw MACT finishing up there, did you?
No, I wasn't expecting MACT to be up there. I thought, because when Jobin got the penalty, I thought like Hypno or someone would get the podium position. But no, yeah, MACT definitely a surprise for 3rd place, and also Hypno as well in 4th.
Yeah, so there's definitely some winners and some losers there. I think we've seen that Jobin is definitely a class driver. Going to have to watch out for them in the feature race. Yeah, MACT getting driver of the day for the sprint race. I think I'm going to agree with the game here. Rio, who would your driver of the sprint race be?
Ooh, driver of the sprint race. I'm gonna have to say Spicy Nuts, even with that penalty. I believe he got a penalty, but no, yeah, he did a very good job on keeping Joe Bean at bay and also fighting him as well, and also keeping that brilliant pace. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough for the podium.
That was a good
position.
It was a good battle between Spicy and Joe. So that's going to reconvene in the feature race because they're going to be starting side by side on row 3 of the grid here. So we'll keep an eye out for those two as they come in to turn 1. Perhaps some settles to score between those two drivers. But more points to be gained here. But MVR leading the way out of that particular race with SHS coming in second. So both drivers picking up some strong points. The point paying positions in the sprint, I think, go down to 10th in the G-Force Racing League. So only the top 10 drivers picking up points in the sprint race. But in the feature race, all our drivers will collect points if they finish. So there's an incentive even for our less experienced drivers, perhaps those not quite as fast as the drivers at the front, still to get some points. They need to keep the cars on the track and functioning, and that's going to give them a greater chance for them and their team of improving for their Constructors' Championship points. So, good sprint race. That set us up nicely for the feature race, which, just a reminder, we won't even bother with some of those reminders. We'll get straight onto the racing. We got 5 lights on as we... All right, folks, let's go racing. As MVR leads us away again, SHS is going to try and make it stick this time into turn 1. I'll see if they've learned from that first race. Indeed they have. So SHS gets up at the inside of MVR and leads us away. MVR under a fair bit of pressure. Actually, Hypno getting through, potentially in front of MVR. So Hypno moves up into second place. MVR losing 2 positions off the start line for the feature race. Macti up behind MVR. Then Spicy Nuts in 5th. SS7 up into 6th. David T in 7th. Wands has moved up into 8th. So Wands has made a couple of places in the start. N1A into 9th. Quite sure where they finished in the sprint race. Actually, we didn't talk much about N1A. A few position changes further on down the grid. A lot of cars getting close to each other. But SHS taking advantage and learning from that sprint race and getting down the inside of MVR very early on. Now let's take a quick look at tyres, because I'm sure they're going to influence significantly what happens here, and indeed where our drivers, what our drivers are thinking in terms of strategy. So I thought MVR might actually have gone on to hards, which would explain why they were not quite as strong off the start line. But MVR is actually out there on mediums. So Rio, does that surprise you? MVR lost 2 places quite so early on in the race.
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, it does. Because usually he's one to be for the top step, but no, definitely a bit surprising that he's got down to 3rd, and also Joe Bean's down to 18th. He might have had a problem earlier in the start.
That's a good spot, Rio. So Joe Bean having a pretty awful start to this race after what was quite a promising sprint race for a long period of time. Just dropping down to MVR here, right up behind Hypno. So perhaps they're back in their flow here. Spin for Mr. Hannes when being told. So yellow flag in sector 1. I wonder if they'll be able to get going. That yellow flag has cleared, but MVR now looking to get down the inside of Hypno into turn 11 and making that stick. So Hypno not fighting it too much, but we see Hypno on those soft tyres, so they won't want to let MVR get away. Good battle between the two as they head down towards turn 12. Hypno thinks better of a lunge down the inside, but should be able to stick with MVR. But this may well drag everyone else. We know how quick MVR is bring them back onto the back of SHS. So SHS had tried to pull away, get outside DRS, which will probably be activated at the end of this lap. They'll want to be gone by more than a second, otherwise this train of cars will be on their backs very quickly. Rio, I noticed Spicy Nuts there on fifth on hard tyres, but they are sticking with this pack. That's going to look good for them, don't you think?
Yeah, Spicy Nuts. Yeah, that is going to look good for them because, well, definitely he's either saving or he is saving the tires and going slowly and going to attack them later on, or he's just going to cruise and see what goes on in front so he can, learn from that and then attack them in whichever way they're weak.
Yeah, and they're not dropping back from MAC-T, so they'll be able to take these hard tyres a long way into the race. And we know some of these drivers do a very good job of looking after those tyres, and that gives them just more opportunity to make smarter calls. So they're going to, obviously all our drivers need to switch to a different compound of tyres, so you can't finish on exactly the same set. For those of you who are new to F1 racing, they've got to switch to a different compound of tyres. But Spicy Nuts will be able to go onto the grippier, medium or soft tyres later on in this race, which will give them potentially a 1 or even a 2 second lap advantage over their competitors, whereas a lot of the others will be going, the soft runners will have to go to mediums or hards, and our medium runners, well, they might look to take their mediums a similar distance to the hards. We saw SHS do that in Belgium. They were able to take the mediums an awful long way into the race. But it does mean Spicy Nuts is in a strong position to have a lot more pace than the cars in front of them towards the end of the race. We'll watch that with interest as this battle between Hypno and MAC-T is starting to hot up a little bit, as the Ferrari is looking to join their teammate, and MVR is come up right behind SHS, our leader. So MVR looking to take back that lead from SHS soon after they lost it. We're on lap 4 of 28 of the G-Force Racing League from here, Austin in Texas. Round 7 we are. So of the feature race, MVR winning the sprint race just a few moments ago. And we're on the feature race, 28 laps long. So we had 10 for the sprint race, 28 for the feature race, 50% of what we would get in the real world. But SHS holding off MVR, but SHS under an awful lot of pressure now, as MVR will get DRS down this back straight between turns 11 and 12. This should be a breeze for MVR, but not that easy. Well, no, they indeed. MVR getting past SHS, and we see MAC-T in the background also getting past Hypno. So the Ferrari's doing well in second and third now. Good move by MAC-T, getting past Hypno and moving up. The medium tyres, Rio, look pretty strong right now.
Medium tyres, to be completely honest with you, medium tyres might be better than the softs, which normally you don't get that. But the mediums, they're looking very strong, and they do last longer than the softs. And I've noticed multiple drivers have been performing a lot better than the other people on hards and softs.
Indeed, and it's not surprising. Perhaps these soft tyres, just this track eating up really quickly. But we've now got a 4-way battle here between Hypno, Spicy Nuts. MAC-T, Hypno, Spicy Nuts and SS7. So SS7 has done well to close up those early gaps, and I wonder if they might be looking to get past Spicy Nuts here. Those hard tyres will do Spicy well later on into this race, but SS7 will be looking to get past Spicy as quickly as possible to take full advantage of those mediums, which we think are certainly the tyre to be on right now on lap 5 here. I think, well, Rio, let me ask you, when do you think our soft runners are likely to need to pit?
The soft runners, I reckon they're going to pit at around maybe earliest lap 9, because of how much this track just chews on the grip of the tires, and latest maybe around lap 12 or 13.
Yeah, and I think the mediums will be hoping to go probably half distance, so about 14 laps or so. Spicy will be hoping that they don't last quite that long. But we see Hypno now more than a second back from MACT. So dropping out of DRS, they will have very little protection against Spicy and SS7. Both will have DRS. Oh, yes, Hypno gets all sorts of wild coming out of that last corner. That gives the opportunity, no contest now, for SS7 and Spicy to get through on Hypno. So those soft tyres clearly not working. Props really good in those early laps, and that's showing with SHS also dropping back from MVR. So MVR moving 2 seconds out in front. But our front three, MVR for Ferrari, SHS for Aston Martin, and MACT for Ferrari. So looking like a good race day so far for the Ferrari team, MVR and MACT combined. So we'll now see if SS7 can get past Spicy. Now, I'm liking the look of Spicy's race here today. Looked like there was a big chunk of curb again from SS7. They're not deterred by their spin in qualifying. They are looking to take advantage of those curbs as much as they can. Will they get down the inside of there? They go through very easily on Spicy, but Spicy's perhaps thinking they don't need to fight that right now. There's plenty of time later on in the race to come back at SS7, and Spicy clearly has pace here. So Alpine will be pinning their hopes on Spicy, keeping it nice and close to SS7. We'll keep an eye on SS7 in case they can close up on MACT, but MACT is now within the DRS of SHS. So SHS might be thinking, do you think Rio 2 stops is a viable strategy here in Texas?
Yeah, 2 stops, definitely. You probably want to go for the 2 stops because your grip is going to fall away very easily on a track and corners like this. And we might see maybe for the medium runners, they're definitely going to be going onto the hards, and for the soft runners, they might go onto the mediums, but take care of the tyres very nicely, not go too aggressive.
Yeah, I could see a soft, medium, soft. I think but that two stop will be hoping for a safety car. I think if they can. We're definitely not getting any rain here today. 0% chance according to our forecast. So no chance of rain interrupting play here. But safety car is very possible. As I'd say that there is a yellow flag in Sector 2. That yellow flag has not yet cleared. Oh, it has now. So we carry on under green flag racing. MACT not able to get past SHS at the moment. And SS7 1.5 seconds back from MACT, but not really pulling away from Spicy Nut. So Spicy able to use that DRS to keep in touch with SS7, but then quite a gap back to N1A here. We'll drop down very briefly. So we do see a little bit of a battle going on between the AlphaTauri of Di Biaggi and El Alex as they come through the final corners of this lap. I'd like to get a view outside the cockpit. So we've got N1A here in 6th, 5.5 seconds back from Spicy Nuts. Spicy Nuts looks to have briefly dropped out of DRS range from SS7. So SS7 starting to actually close down on MACT. That's going to get interesting very shortly. But they're back in 7th. We've got Di Biaggi with Alex actually sat in the same cockpit, it would seem, with Di Biaggi. They've got past, so perhaps one of the drivers ghosting very briefly as they come together there coming out of turn 1, and the AlphaTauri of Obo taking advantage of that and moving up into 8. So El Alex dropping back sadly there. Emilecki will also be another one to look out for. Emilecki is a consistent driver, always up there in the top 10, usually the top 5, and quite often on the podium. They're out there on those hard tyres. There's plenty of opportunity for them, particularly with their driving ability, to make places up, particularly with the 2 AlphaTauris, both with penalties. I'm going to ask Pete just to keep an eye on the gap between MACT and SS7 for us. As we see, actually looks like MACT has got past SHS. So those soft tyres have clearly had a better day of it. So I think MVR will be happy now that they've got their teammate there to protect them, and probably will allow Ferrari potentially to get a 1-2 here.
Yeah, I the soft front is definitely looking starting to fall back on their interval times by quite a lot. So yeah, NVR and MACT will definitely be happy about that. And SHS, if he can pit somewhere around between now and maybe lap 15, and then try and regain all those places with completely new tires.
Yeah, so it's a fantastic drive. I've been impressed by MACT both today and last week. Was able to look back at the stream and their battle with SS7. It really did go right to the wire, but great driving between the two of them. So MACT has not been able to do too many races with us, but Ferrari will be delighted to have them here. And MACT really sharp through those corners. So that Ferrari working ever so well for them. It'll be interesting to see if MACT does get up behind MVR. What that might do for the Ferrari team if we get a Ferrari battle for the lead of this race. But SS7 now is right behind SHS. So SHS holding on to those soft tyres as best that they can. But clearly, although MACT there locking up into, I think that was corner 12, allowing SHS and SS7 to close up. Spicy Nuts has dropped back now from that battle with SS7, and they're probably just conserving those tyres. We are not halfway through this race yet, folks, so don't go anywhere. There's already an awful lot that has happened here on M1 Racing. As always, the GeForce Racing League giving us great entertainment, always something to talk about here, and that is not going to change. So we've only 10 laps in now, and battles raging all the way down the grid, and we've got another one brewing nicely here with SS7 on the back of SHS as they start their lap 10, coming up to the hairpin. This blind apex, as you come up the hill, you're kind of braking as the hill is still rising, and then the car goes incredibly light as you go over that crest of the hill and then flatten out for the apex of turn 1. It's really difficult for the drivers to judge that, but our drivers here doing incredibly well. But SS7 is right on the back of SHS with DRS down this next straight. Easy pickings, do you reckon, Rio, for SS7 on this main straight?
Yeah, SHS probably going to be one of the more easier ones because of he's on the soft and his grip's probably fallen away a lot, and he is losing a fair bit of time to MACT, as I can see from the timings, unless he gets DRS or ERS.
Well, we see SHS not giving up on those softs yet. They're down the inside of MACT. So whether or not MACT made a mistake, but SHS taking real advantage. But now we've got 3 cars wide through turns 14 and 15. SHS getting the best of that particular battle, but MACT not giving out now. Slow exit by SHS. So MACT looking to try and get through back on SHS. We come around that big sweeping corners of 17 and 18 on to 19. SS7 will be hoping for some kind of contact, these 2 cars in front. No need to get involved necessarily, but they will now have DRS as we start at lap 11 of the GeForce Racing League from the Circuit of the Americas. Now MACT getting down the inside of SHS into turn 1. These places changing every moment of the race, it seems. Nearly every other corner. So MACT back up into second. SHS drops back down to third. SS7 lurking there in fourth, looking to pick up the pieces. Well, don't want to leave this battle, folks, because this could be crucial. SHS trying to take those soft tyres quite deep into this race. Whether or not they're thinking, well, maybe we'll go on to hards and see it out to the very end. But we've seen, Rio, that SHS can last out tyres like they did in Canada, your last race with us in the GeForce Racing League. Do you really think SHS can take these tyres much further?
SHS, yeah, to be completely honest, even though they're on the brink of completely losing grip, they're definitely going to be taken quite further by SHS.
And you can see there another battle on the same part of the track between these 3 cars. I think SS7 is rightly thinking, I'm just not going to get involved. Oh no, as soon as I say that, SHS very slow out of that corner. once more. So MACT taking advantage of it. Let's see if MACT can hold on one more time to this. But SS7 is smelling a place here. That would have been a bold move by SHS into turn 20. Right, now looks like S7 has got a good exit, but SHS does get the benefit of DRS. So are they going to go side by side? No, but SS7 does look for a gap there, but SHS closes the door very quickly. That's a real advantage to Spicy Nuts. We can see them still there. They've actually closed up what was over a 2-second gap. So these three cars battling out in front of Sport Spicy right back into this contest and circulating on those hard tyres will be thinking this is going to really help them significantly. Now we do see, and I haven't mentioned this earlier, we did lose Joe Bean after I think the first lap. So whatever damage they picked up was obviously too significant, and unfortunately after what was looking so promising for them and for Mercedes has come to nothing today, sadly. But we do hope we see them back next week, and we do welcome them to the G-Force Racing League. SS7 closing up very closely behind SHS there, but no place is changing hands on this particular lap as these drivers settle back down into their current positions. If we just go down the running order, because so much has happened in these first 12 laps. So MVR leading the way, 10 seconds clear now of their teammate MACT in second, SHS in third, 11 laps deep on those soft tyres, SS7 in fourth, Spicy Nuts in fifth. Then we got the first of our penalty runners. So Obo with a penalty. We see SHS has now pitted. So it was lap 12, end of lap 12 Rio for SHS. They switched. We keep an eye on the left hand side to see what tyre compound SHS decides to go on to. It's mediums. All right, so we got 15 laps, Rio. They've got to take those medium tyres. We know they're good. Are they that good?
They are good, but they might just fall off at the end of the race, if I'm being completely honest with you, because we do have 15 laps left. And the medium, they are good. They are really good, especially for a track like this. But no, definitely going to be seeing some interesting stuff from his tyres and also him towards the end of the race, maybe.
Now they will get the advantage of a undercut. An undercut at this point. Overcut. I've got to get my terms around the right way, Ria. By pitting early, that's going to make sure that when they should do, depending on when these cars pit, will probably keep them out in front of these. They will be going faster, and I would be surprised to see a fastest lap from SHS very, very shortly. It's really whether or not they're able to maintain that pace later on in the race, as you were suggesting, and 15 laps is an awful long way to go. But we know SHS can look after their tyres very well. It has promoted SS7 into third spot right now, and they're following behind MACT. And I'm not sure. Spicy Nuts, yes, still there, as Pete is telling me. Spicy is not going away. I can see Spicy taking a place on the podium, but SS7 is closed up into the DRS range of MACT, so we could have a battle on our hands for second place one more time as we head down the main straight. The car's going through the S-curves here. The complex very similar to the complex at Silverstone, so our drivers transferring their skills from last week into this race, as we see Spicy Nuts picking up another is it their first one for this race? Let's check penalties, because we haven't taken a look at penalties very briefly. Everyone on 3 seconds except for Obo on 6, so it's really only the 3 seconds there for Spicy Nuts. As I say that, DV actually picks up another 3 second time penalty. I don't think time penalties are going to play such a role here, not like they did in Canada and other places, but they potentially will for Spicy Nuts. After what was looking quite promising for them, they have got that extra 3 seconds to go on. That will be added at the end of the race. A yellow flag in Sector 3. That looks like Williams. And that yellow flag not yet cleared, or they are moving again, so that's good to see. SS7 is really struggling with grip. We see them coming out the corner there of 19, really struggling with grip coming out of there. The car wanting to give way, but sticking with MACT in front of them, but Spicy Nuts not going anywhere either. Looks like a close battle between Alex1 and Domo Pierce, so we're going to come down there. Domo Pierce, we didn't get to cover much last week. They were really struggling, as did most of the McLaren drivers in Silverstone. Emeleki has moved up to 5th place, so they're having a better week this week. Domo Pierce also on the hard tyres, though. Well, they are now, so they will have pitted. It's only 2 laps old, so Domo looking to take those right to the end of the race. And there's still points for McLaren here. And there's a real advantage to our teams getting both drivers out to help them in the constructors' standings. So Domo Pierce down there in 13th, not quite challenging Alex1, but within the DRS of the car in front. Now, Pete is telling me that SHS is currently doing laps 2 seconds faster than MVR. So that tells you, Rio, how good those new soft tyres are, but it also gives us a clue as to how fast MVR is going to be when they come out, having done their pit stop. SHS, do you think they've made a good call, or do you think they might be pushing those mediums a bit too hard?
They might be pushing those mediums a bit too hard, because as you were saying with SS7 before, he was losing grip only about 13, 14 laps in. So SHS is good, but not for long, because those tyres will eventually drop off towards the end of the race, or at the end of the race. Because he is pushing that car right to its limits.
Yeah, it definitely is. But we know they know how to handle a car, and they're looking to get past Emeleki here. So Emeleki's done 15 laps on those hard tyres. Won't really be able to fight the pace of SHS. But SHS move up into 5th now. So, yeah, really good work by SHS. We're just having a quick chat with Pete. Yeah, I think the pit stop time here is about 25 seconds they're going to lose from coming into the pits, changing tyres and getting out. So we'll need to do some calculations, but at the moment, definitely SHS would be leapfrogging all of the cars in front of them. But what I do notice is these medium runners, Rio, have taken their tyres beyond half distance. So if they take them any further, you could see a whole bunch of them jumping onto softs, do you reckon? Do you think they might be brave?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to do that old trick. They are definitely going to, jump onto softs and get as far as they can before the end of the race. SS7 might do that. I think he definitely will be one to do that. And MACT also maybe. And Spicy Nuts maybe. And
Pete's got his abacus out. I think he's predicting potentially at this pace it would be possible for SHS to do a 2-stop. So they could do the last few laps on soft tyres, and it does really interesting strategy potentially playing out for SHS. And I think, Pete, you might be right, looking at how quickly that time gap to SS7 is coming down, as we see both Spicy Nuts and Emeleki, and SS7 pitting. So, I called it wrong for Emeleki. They are still out there. So SS7 and Spicy Nuts have both pitted, and SS7 has gone for the softs. So, with Spicy Nuts on the medium. So, Spicy Nuts definitely on a 1-stopper. SS7 will need to be past Spicy as quickly as they can to take full advantage of those soft tyres. Otherwise, I can see them dropping back very, very quickly into the clutches of the cars behind. We've got N1A behind these cars here. So N1A has no penalties. All the 4 cars in front of them do. So it's looking good again for N1A, who benefited from the penalties in Silverstone last week. SS7 right up behind Spicy Nuts as we come down this main straight, or this back straight here. SS7 has got past very quickly on Spicy. That's just what they needed, and they can move up now Oh, and Spicy had a little bit of a look down the inside of SS7, but thought better of it. So the SS7 will be wanting to get past DiBiase now, who's on much older tyres than them, and then get after Emeleki. So we'll stick with these cars here as we see if SS7 can take advantage of those soft. So MVR and Mac-T both into the pits. Now if they've... So Rio, both Ferraris gone in at the same time, they're going to be queuing, I guess, won't they?
Yep.
Oh no,
yeah,
I'm sorry to cut across you. There was a collision there between SS7 and Spicy Nuts. Coming together on the very last corner. Now, I don't know if anyone's picked up any damage from that. SS7 looks okay. If we go to the front of Spicy Nuts' car, they look okay as well. So, not too sure. So, telemetry is telling us that Spicy has damage. So, that may... I didn't see exactly what happened. Rio, did you see that move take place?
I didn't, because the camera was pointed directly at the wall. I only just saw them as, just at the end of the contact. But no, I don't think I saw any collision.
No, so it's got very congested in this part of the track with an awful lot of cars here as they come down this big long straight DRS open for most of our cars here. This is going to get tasty. M1A trying to stay in front but not winning on that. They're on much older tyres than the cars in front of them. So Spicy getting past, SS7 getting past. So fortunately nobody seems to be too worse off from that particular event between SS7 and Spicy, both cars going, and that any damage for Spicy seems to be... Oh, we see in front of them Mac-T right up behind DiBiase. Now DiBiase doesn't have to give up this position. This is a fight for position on track. DiBiase is not being lapped. DiBiase just hasn't pitted yet, so they can fight all they like. So there we go. So the Ferrari of Mac-T getting past DiBiase. Oh, there's contact there between Spicy Nuts and DiBiase. So SS7 getting the better of that particular event. There's an awful lot going on between these cars as drivers try to get through on each other. It's very difficult to tell. It's all happening in different parts of the track. We're unable to see everything that's going on, folks. If you've got a different view of something, do let us know in the chat. But there is so much to cover here. But that has promoted SS7 into fourth place, which is ultimately what they wanted from their move to soft tyres. But it has dropped Spicy Nuts back into fifth and N1A, but still no penalties for N1A. So they stand to benefit if they can stick with Spicy Nuts. Now, I think everyone has stopped now, at least once. Let's go to stops. Yes, everyone has stopped at least once. The Hasses have stopped twice, so they're down to 15th and 16th currently. But everyone else... Oh, an Ace Pilot with 3 stops, so perhaps struggling a little bit on this track today. MVR setting the fastest lap, 133.413. So that's quite some distance from everyone else. So I'm just looking, actually, that is... I don't know if Pete can confirm this is 3 seconds faster than everyone else. Yeah, he tells me that's correct. So that is quite some pace from MVR on those soft tyres. Yeah, so great performance there from MVR for that lap as we see more battles at the back here. And yeah, we see Hypno, that was Hypno and I think Obo coming together there. And that has sadly dropped Hypno right back. It did look like a bit of a lunge into the hairpin at turn 1, so unfortunate for Hypno, who was looking good earlier on in the race. They have dropped back. Our leaders have separated a bit. So MVR 9.5 seconds ahead of SHS. Mac-T 8 seconds back from them in third. SS7 will keep an eye on their times and whether they close up on Mac-T, but both Mac-T and SS7 both on softs. Spicy Nuts in fifth, and then N1A in sixth, 3 seconds back from them. The closer battle here is between Emeleki as they're going down on the inside of Obo and moving up into 8th place. So that strategy of taking those hard tyres really long might be paying off for Emeleki, particularly later in, as we've got 8 laps left to go here of the G-Force Racing League. MVR Rio is really showing their class out in front today.
NVR, I believe he said he was lapping 3 seconds.
Yeah.
3, yeah. MVR definitely having a strong pace, and with those really fast soft tires, he's definitely going to be winning this race, because 3 seconds is a lot, especially with on the Circuit of the Americas, because we know how brutal this track can be for the tires and also for the car if you go over those curbs a lot.
Yeah, it's quite incredible the pace that MVR is able to pull out at the moment. I mean, it's wonder how long those soft tyres will allow them to do that. But what I thought we'd take a quick look at, Rio, we've got some real winners and some losers here. So SS7 moving up 3 places, N1A up 6, which is really great for them. Emeleki just getting back pretty much to where they started from. Obo done well there, up 6th places. I don't know if they may need to pit again. I'm not sure how old those tyres are. Hypno, the big loser right now. We see Emeleki getting past there, moving back up into their starting position of 6th. So that's a good move for them. M1A not really fighting that with Emeleki, so good drive from those two. El Alex up 2. Domo Pierce moved up 5 places. So as I mentioned earlier, sometimes you don't always have to be right at the very front to pick up some good points for your team. So Domo doing a solid job for McLaren, and Andre Ludi at 1, an ace pilot benefiting from Joe Bean leaving us early on in the race. But Wands and David T definitely losing out so far in this race today. Wands usually a very strong performer for Aston Martin in recent weeks, but sadly not their track here this particular week. Let me come back off of positions and we'll go back onto tyres. And as Pete says in the chat, could be a battle developing between MACT and SHS. So yeah, so I've got Pete in my ear. I think, Pete, your timing screen is perhaps just a little out of sync, is what I'm going to say. We're the gaps between the various drives actually quite significant at the front. So MVR is 13.5 seconds clear of SHS. MACT has closed up that gap to SHS down to 4.5 seconds. So they might well be putting SHS under some pressure. Spicy Nuts has got past SS7 back up into 4th place. So SS7 and their soft tyres, Rio, possibly seen better days now.
Yeah, I think SS7 might have gone a bit too aggressive on this, unless he's just laying off of it and then he's going to go aggressive later on. But he's going to try his best, to stay behind Spicy Nuts as much as he can.
Yeah, so we'll see if they're just preserving those soft tyres towards the very end of the race for one last charge on Spicy. Now, let us check penalties as well, because I said earlier they may not come into play, but now we see how I think he's poised, maybe they will. So Spicy Nuts and SS7 both on 3 seconds each, but with Emeleki back in 6th with a 6-second penalty. That is not... Emeleki will probably just hold station there. Great battle between the two Alpha Tauris and N1A in the Alpha, and it looks as we saw... Oh, they're right behind each other, these two. Let me get rid of that screen, folks, so we can see this battle unfolding. Perhaps no team orders on the Alpha Tauri team here today. These three going hammer and tongs, but the Alphas will not. Alpha Tauris won't want to take each other out. There's a big lunge down the inside as M1A perhaps sees them coming. Did give them room, but I think they got down pretty okay there. So that's moved DiBiaggi up into 7th, and Obo's taking advantage of that 2, if we go back onto tyres, because that might tell us a little bit about where N1A is at. So N1A on 11 lap old tyres, so not too much older than, or pretty equal to those around them. We're coming under, had a lot of pressure from those two AlphaTauris, and Obo and DiBiase both getting past, pretty much mugging M1A there, and getting past pretty swiftly. We've got SS7 and Spicy Nuts following line of stern in 4th and 5th, but SS7 just sticking in the DRS of Spicy Nuts. Peter's telling me, I think on lap times, SS7 is struggling to stay with Spicy Nuts. We don't know. I don't know if Pete, if you can see if SS7 does have any damage at all, but obviously not able to, certainly not pass just yet. So further on down the grid, we do have Ace Pilot still going around in 17th for Williams. Mr. Hannes down there in 16th. We've seen Mr. Hannes much further up, Rio. I mean, it's pretty true. I don't know if you find this, just some tracks suit drivers much better than others. Did you find that?
Yeah, I definitely found that in the pre-race in Spain. I wasn't that great because some tracks aren't my thing. It could be the same with Mr. Hannes. He's been the same, the same lap times. But it's just you can take it as a learning time and come back stronger at the next race.
Yeah, let's hope so, because we have seen Mr. Hannes up there with the best of them in earlier races in the season. And we are, folks, halfway through the season. This is race 7, round 7 of the G-Force Racing League. We have 12 rounds in total. Next week we're going to be in Singapore under the lights in the amazing city of Singapore. You'll want to join us for that one. But right now we're on lap 25 and 28 of round 7 here of the feature race from Austin in Texas with the G-Force Racing League, with MVR leading the way from SHS. MACT in 3rd, but closing that gap down to SHS now to 2.5 seconds. So we are possibly going to have a last lap battle between SHS and MACT for 2nd and 3rd on the podium. We're going to return to those in a minute, as we still see Obo being followed by N1A and Hypno getting in on the action. These two drivers, N1A and Hypno, have no penalties, so they may well be moved up a place or two as a result of that, although DiBiase quite some distance now, 10 seconds out in front of their teammate Obo, so certainly a position or two to be made up for N1A and Hypno here, just on penalties alone. And also we've got Domo Pierce with no penalties at all, but many other drivers picking up those for track limits. And track limits, if you're not aware, is these white lines you see around the track. If you get all 4 wheels beyond those and you do it on 3 separate occasions, you will be given a 3-second time penalty by the stewards. So that's where those will be coming from. Or as the AlphaTauri gets very sideways, coming out, I think that was of turn 15. So struggling to get on the traction for Obo. Those hard tyres not working quite so well. Let's move up. We see SS7 has dropped out of DRS, or they have it here on Spicy Nuts, but not really able to stay with them. DiBiase picking up another 3-second time penalty. But MACT closing that gap to SHS in front of them. They've got 2.5 laps or thereabouts to get up behind SHS and pass them. We've still got the battle for 8th place taking place down there. Obo, N1A and Hypno. So all of them trying to take advantage and move further up. But we're just going to we're going to monitor MACT just for the last lap or so, just to see if they can close that down. It does look as though SHS might well have the measure of MACT at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that gap. SS7 staying within around about a second of Spicy Nuts, but not really able to close them down unless they're conserving ERS, the battery charge that these drivers have to give an extra power boost when they need it. There's only so much you can use, but you can recharge over the various laps here. So SS7 might just be conserving that for a last dash at the end. MVR has started lap 27. They've got this lap and one more to go. They're well out ahead, 18 seconds clear of SHS. But MACT has got that gap down to nearly 2 seconds and will start to get a bit of a tow from the car in front. Another 3 second time penalty for Di Biaggi. So let's just take a look at that. They are 14 seconds ahead. We go the right way. So 12 seconds for Di Biaggi and 6 for Obo. So an expensive day for penalties for the AlphaTauris here. That could hurt them right at the very end. As we see that battle. Di Biaggi has retired from the session, sadly. We have lost them from the stream. So that's promoted Obo into 8th, N1A into 9th. So that removes some of those penalties for AlphaTauri, but sadly it's removed one of their cars as well. And Emeleki has come right up behind SS7. They're out of ERS. We see that red light flashing on the back of Emeleki's car. We're on lap 27 here, Rio. Going to ask you to start thinking about your driver of the day. We saw some contact on the stream there between Emeleki and SS7, but that looked as though perhaps a potential temporary glitch by the game. Hopefully no driver picked up any damage from that. I'm going to ask our folks in the stream here, as we've started lap 28 now, who your driver of the day would be. Let us know in the chat. Let us know who your driver of the day is, but also let us know why. Is it because of the way they've driven? Is it the number of places they've made up? Maybe just like the look of their car. I don't mind, but do let us know in the chat. So we're on lap 28 here, Rio. Who are you going to call as your driver of the day for this feature race here in Texas?
It's going to be close, but it's between NVR and MACT, because they both have driven such a good race, and they made up barely any positions. Fell down the order by like only 1 or 2 when they made their pit stop. And just goes to show how good they are at driving, especially around this track. But no, definitely those two are going to be a contender for the driver of the day.
Yeah. We don't have any votes in the chat just yet. I'm going to save mine until we see the end of this race. Di Biaggi is in the driver's chat right now. Sorry to see you leave us so close towards the end of this race, but it was great to have you with us for the first time. Hopefully you'll join us for next week's race in Singapore. As we just come round the final corners here, we come to MVR as they cross the finishing line for Ferrari. First place for MVR and Ferrari. Congratulations to them for another victory on the G-Force Racing League. SHS is coming around to finish in second spot. Another good drive for SHS, another second place for them. Second place again with last week at Silverstone. They get second place here in Austin. MACT coming around to come in third place. I'm going to move away from that very briefly as we see the cars finishing their laps here. So congratulations to all of our drivers. Spicy Nuts coming home in fourth, Emeleki being promoted into fifth, SS7 in sixth, Obo in seventh. But let's see if those penalties for Obo are going to hurt them. Indeed they do, as they come over the line. Hypno moves up into seventh, Obo into eighth. Good result for them and AlphaTauri. N1A in ninth. We've got El Alex 1. It's great to have El Alex back with us this week. They come over in 10th for Williams. David T in 11th, I believe, potentially their home Grand Prix. So, David, great you could join us for your home Grand Prix here at Austin. Domo Pierce coming over the line there as well. So, congratulations to all of our drivers for another really eventful race. Rio, let me ask you, your driver of the day?
Definitely I've just decided that now. Definitely, NVR is just driven such a good race. He's been really consistent. He's been really fast, and also like before, he made up. Sorry, not made up. He lost about not even a single position during that pit stop, and yet he still went on to finish that race in first and gained 18 seconds, which is you rarely see that in racing leagues, unless the driver is experienced quite a lot, like in VR is.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, Rio. I'm going to give mine, and I don't disagree with you at all, but I'm going to give mine to the other Ferrari driver, Mac T. I was impressed with them last week, but I think this week they were strong in both the sprint race, but particularly here in the feature race. If we'd have had a few more laps, it'd been interesting to see what they could have done with SHS. But our final classification for the Texas Grand Prix, MVR in first, SHS in second. I should say this is the overall, I don't know if I can change this, folks, yeah, so it won't let me. This is overall weekend, so MVR overall winner in first, SHS coming through in second, back T for Ferrari with the greatest points there, Spicy Nuts in fourth for Alpine, Emeleki in fifth, Hypno in sixth, SS7 in seventh, Obo in 8th, Joe Bean in 9th, and Enway in 10th. And that's the combined points from both the sprint and from the feature race. We will show you we'll publish the full results on the Discord channel and also in the stream, so you can see each of those. But another very good race for the G-Force Racing League. So my driver of the day goes to Mac T, Rio's goes to MVR. The game gave it to Obo. As we see in the chat, 2 weeks in a row, Obo says, for driver of the day. Well done, Obo, and some good points for AlphaTauri today. So, congratulations to you, Pete. I'm going to whisper in my ear. Who would your driver of the day go to? He says SHS. That's not a bad shout. So the top three all getting driver of the day from the commentary box. So we like to be fair to everyone. So my thanks to everyone for joining today. We did have some technical issues at the start of today's race, so we do apologise for the slight delay to the stream, but we did manage to get there just before the racing started. So we'll hopefully be all properly up and running for next week with no last minute hiccups. To Rio, have you had a good day today?
I've had a lovely day. So eventful and very I got hyped a lot in some of those battles, but definitely one of the more eventful races that you're going to get in the league.
Definitely, and thank you so much for being with us as before. Got to say thanks to Pete, for good to have you back in my ear as always, making sure we don't miss all the really important stuff that's happening. We did our best today, but there was so much going on for us to cover. We apologise for some of the events we just weren't able to show on the stream. I'd like to thank our drivers for giving us another fantastic race as always, even more exciting as we go into the second half of the season. Next week we'll be prepared with all the driver standings and constructor standings coming out of today's race, so we'll start the stream with that. And my thanks to you all for watching. Thanks for sticking with us for another exciting set of races from the G-Force Racing League. We'll be back next Wednesday 8 p.m. UK time for Singapore, round 8 of the G-Force Racing League. One main feature race under the lights in Singapore. Lots of close walls, lots of close wheel-to-wheel racing. It will be a great spectacle. Come and join us next week. In the meantime, stay safe and we'll see you soon. Thanks for watching M1 Racing. See you next time.